yeah, I'm Sophie Mays-Messam, and I am the World Schools lead at Suffolk Wildlife Trust. So one of the things that we'll be talking to you today about is our Wilder Schools programme, and then I will hand over to Emma to talk to you about our Wilder training. I will also touch a little bit on our school visits and also some of the resources that we have available on the Trust itself. So what is Wilder Schools? Wilder Schools is a programme that helps Suffolk schools to understand the natural environment, discover local wildlife and build connections to nature. We actually began this back in 2022 now, and that was our first pilot. So Sussex Wildlife Trust had begun this first, and then we actually took this on in our own way. The programme is there to empower teachers to weave nature into everyday learning and creates the curriculum allowing pupils and staff to act for nature. So that's kind of where we're at. The map that's on there at the moment is actually all of the Wilder schools that have taken part in this pilot over the last 3 years. So yeah, it's about 30 Wilder schools. Some of those pictures are just a few examples of various activities. So it's really simple, hands-on activities in the school grounds where they learn to care for the natural world. We do a lot of habitat mapping, so we get to find out what's on the grounds first. And we work with the pupils and with the teachers and decide what we're going to do. So every school is very unique. Most of these schools have now graduated the programme or are on their way to graduating, and we've actually learnt quite a lot in the last 3 years. So we've actually now switched things up. As any pilot, you learn a lot from the people that have taken part, but also from doing it yourselves. And we've used that feedback now to create a new logic model, which I will show you a little bit of later. But it just means that we can now kind of do it to the best of its ability. So we're looking forward to kind of getting involved with the schools going forwards, as well as celebrating those schools that have still been with us over the past 3 years. And in particular, we're looking to explore the future green and blue pathways. That's kind of where we're really sort of hoping to kind of really start that, so that, you know, by the time they get into secondary and things like that, they're continuing. So there are 3 main areas of focus. So embedding outdoor learning within the curriculum, boosting wildlife on school grounds. Obviously for us as the Wildlife Trust, that's what we really want to see. And as I said, inspired to explore future green and blue pathways. So the main kind of bit that the schools are really excited about with this is that we understand as a trust that talking with teachers and the climate advisors, that the new climate action plans that schools have been putting in place can sometimes seem a little bit overwhelming. But Wilder Schools is a really great way for the school community to actually take action for nature, as well as demonstrating this in their own climate action plans. And we can also then ensure that these are sustainable and maintained. So you can have a sort of look on here, but basically some of the things that we might actually do during kind of action days is things like water butts, conserve water, tree or hedge planting, composting, so reducing waste, improving soil health. It could be creating habitats, so we've got things again like hedgerows, wildflower areas, but it could be bug hotels, it could be swift boxes, stag beetle stacks we've done a lot of, especially because we've got a lot of schools near Ipswich. And then also embedding outdoor learning and sustainability across the curriculum. So a big way that we do this, and Emma again will touch on this, is the accredited training side of things, which we very proudly do in-house. And the main kind of programme and part of that to do with Wilder Schools is Leader in Outdoor Learning. And that's an accredited training programme that all the teachers get, and then we help them with that to embed it into their curriculum. So this here is actually just a little table. It's just a little part, but it's just an example of how this actually then fits into the climate action plan. And this is something that we do provide all of the schools that are taking part, so that basically they can then put this into their own climate action plans and all the relevant parts that they're doing, so that they can kind of demonstrate that that is, you know, hitting all the things that they need to hit. So this is our new resource pack. So this has been created quite recently. In fact, you're some of the first to see it, so that's quite exciting. This will be given to schools that are sort of looking at doing Wilder Schools with us. It talks a little bit about the actual programme. So what we now tend to do is year one is very much about embedding, so habitat mapping, leader and outdoor learning training. Greening the curriculum is where we work alongside the teacher, and actually part of their leader and outdoor learning is to create lesson plans that involve outdoor learning, and we actually then, it's a bit of sort of a teach and see, and we actually support them with that because they have to do it for their coursework. And we also talk about community fundraising for any of the practical bits that they're going to need for year two. Year two is then very much action work days, so habitat creation, BioBlitz, and we have 4 of these. And then year 3 is all about community. So community action day, bringing everyone in to see what they've done. A Wilder School conference. So this is going to be a new thing that we're doing, but basically every Wilder School will be invited to come along, and it will be a yearly thing that we have. And then they also have their resource pack, which is given to them. And I'll show you a tiny bit of that in a second. And also they will have a Wilder School graduation. So just a very brief look, you're welcome to have a little look on there, but that kind of just breaks it down a little bit more. So talking about kind of how we're going to be going in during the different terms, but the main bit really is those action days. So we've sort of split it into homes, food and water and habitat, and the schools can really personalise, even though it's sort of standard for us and we know what we're doing for each of those, the schools can really choose their own programme, as it were, and it depends also on the school grounds and what actually would work for them. That's on there, and that's just some lovely photos of some of the schools that have taken part. You can see a real mixture, but lots of different things. Some schools have loads of lovely green ground, and you can do lots of things. Others we're using planters, tyres, and making little ponds. And other days we're actually doing lessons. There's like a maths lesson out there. We go in and sort of show them how they can incorporate basically into any part of the curriculum that they want to. At the end of their 3 years, one of the things that we really kind of got fed back was that school teachers still felt the need to be supported just to know where to now take it. So we have been creating our Wilder Schools resource pack. A lot of this is, there are parts of it that isn't on here that sort of are bits that, once you've done the Wilder Schools, then you'd receive. But also all of these bits we include in a really nice, easy way. But these are all available for free for any school to go and find online. So this is all created by RSWT and the Wildlife Watch, but it's got really useful sort of sheets on there, so spring flower sheets, pond mini bee spotters, how to grow your own mini meadow, how to make a wildlife pond, and also just on the bottom left there are some lesson plans, and there are loads of different lesson plans already uploaded, literally broken down minute by minute on how you can incorporate outdoor learning into again your sort of everyday teachings. So that's on there as well. So that's a really sort of whistle-stop tour of Wilder Schools. Also, just to mention our school trips. So school trips are, when basically you come and have a day with us. So it's normally a habitat day. These are now at Lackford Lakes, Carlton Marshes, Foxborough, which is here, Redgrave, Nettle Heath, Ipswich Parks and Bradfield Woods. They do get booked up very far in advance, but it is very much worthwhile taking advantage of those and going and visiting whatever site's closest to the schools. They're really lovely. They do all sorts of things: pond dipping, bird watching, habitat mapping, mini bees hunting. So it's a really nice way to kind of have a school trip, but also get those parts.
So hello everyone, my name's Emma Keeble, so I'm the Wilder Training Manager for Suffolk Wildlife Trust. So basically with our Wilder training provision, Sophie sort of touched on a few aspects of it, but we've got 3 main areas of focus. Can you all see that slide? Excellent. So our 3 focus areas are our accredited training courses, focusing on pathways into green and blue careers for 14 to 25-year-olds, and then applied environmental learning for key stages 3 to 5. So I'm just going to kind of touch on, as Sophie did, a whistle-stop tour of all of them for you. So our Wilder Training, Suffolk Wildlife Trust, is an accredited training centre with AIM, that's our awarding body, and we currently run this suite of courses that you can see at the moment. So Forest School Training, levels 2 and 3 of it, which I'm one of the tutors. Both myself and Joanne are endorsed by the Forest School Association. We are 2 of less than 20 nationally who are endorsed, which just shows that the level and the quality of our forest school training is very high. We run the Leader in Outdoor Learning, as Sophie's mentioned. At the moment, that is very much a primary focused provision, but we are very much looking at creating something along those lines for secondary. So really looking at how we can work with secondary schools to help facilitate that provision of and delivery of the curriculum outdoors. We also run Wild Beach Leader training as well. At the moment, it is very much a watch this space. There will be more coming. Sometimes it's nice just to think about why it's important to do all those things and how it's so important to get people, adults and children outside in natural spaces. And these are just some really lovely comments that we have had from students, from trainees and practitioners about, most of that is collected from forest school training, but I think sometimes it can be so easy to think, oh, it's just easier to stay indoors, whereas actually the well-being benefits of that time outside are so vital. In addition to our accredited courses, we also run Wild Skills Days. So these are one-off days. There is no coursework for these. They are all about upskilling practitioners, teachers, individuals with different skills and tools that you might need in order to facilitate delivery outside. So you'll probably notice there's quite a forest school base on there because that's Joe and Mai's passion. But there will be more things coming in to add to that suite of courses. And some of those are quality assured by AIM. So, for those of us that love having a certificate bank to build up, you will get a nice shiny certificate for some of those. In addition to those, we also run some inset days. So these are days we've taken some of those courses basically and just thought, well, there are some settings who would really benefit from having a whole staff inset day to upskill in some of these. So rather than sending practitioners to us, we can come out to you and facilitate in your grounds, which can also mean we can give you some advice on your grounds at the same time. So at the moment we've got forest school in the early years, some practical skills refreshers, again focusing on sort of those forest school skills, so tools and fire, same with the play structures, and then our new course which is looking at well-being in nature, so well-being for staff and for students. I think well-being is such a huge area that people are more and more involved in, and how important it is to support our young people and ourselves in that. So giving some pointers there. And then also creating spaces for people and nature. So Sophie's run through our Wilder School project. And Wilder Schools is sort of like a 3-year programme. It's quite a big commitment for schools. But it might be that there are some schools who might not be able to commit to that programme at the moment, but still want some support and help in creating spaces for people and nature in their grounds. So we're offering like a 1-day inset where we can come in and give you advice on what things you might be able to do in your grounds. So that pretty much summarises our accredited training provision. We then are focusing, and this is a new one this year, on pathways into green and blue careers. So I'm looking at the moment at the offering of entry-level qualifications for 14 plus. I am currently running a course with some of my home educated individuals called Level 1 Forestry in the Community. So it's a bit of a random title, but it's very much getting them to focus on time outside and species and woodland management and tool use. But the plan is very much, we've just had some really interesting meetings with Inspire and WS Training, who facilitate young people in helping them to access the workplace. And so we've got a really exciting programme planned with them, looking at how we can support our young people to gain the skills and the qualifications that they might need to pursue a career in conservation or, either land or sea based. And those qualifications will be accredited by AIM again. So they are nationally recognised qualifications. And then the last string to our bow really is looking at applied environmental learning in secondary schools. So we are in the process at the moment of writing some programmes for Key Stages 3 to 5. So curriculum focused visits to our nature reserves, which will focus on various areas of the curriculum. So data collection and sampling, orienteering, geographical inquiry. So these will be sessions where secondary schools, colleges, FE can come out to us and we can help facilitate and assist with a lot of that curriculum focus. And that is the end of our whistle-stop summary.